Now, stop humming this here, everything done changed. That warp tool made you open your brain. Eric Vanek is here, so remember the name. Hey, he got the waiver wire for the week. Tell you who to start and who to give a seat. Dropping the podcast every week. You know the knowledge is elite. After the show, we gon' hold a Lombardi. Celebrating like we throwing a party. This the blueprint and I know they gon' copy. Harmon intros always go the hardest, cause this is America's game.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to America's Game, episode number 25. I'm your host, Eric Vanek. You can follow me on Twitter at Eric Vanek NFL. And this week, I am joined by my co-host, Adam. Adam, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Eric? America's Game, man. That intro gets me in the mood to do America's Game every single time, listening or being a co-host, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to have you. Was a little sad weekend for me and you as Browns fans as we watched CJ Stroud just fucking pound us into oblivion.
Yep.
But he's the real fucking deal, man.
He is. I think, it would have been nice to get a W and all that, but in a way, it was nice to see that we can kind of put there's a reason Joe Flacco was retired, and, I love the guy still. It's still awesome to see, but, put the ball in harm's way a couple times, and before you know it, the game's over, right?
Yeah, he did that during the regular season too. I mean, he had led the league in touchdown passes in that time and all that. He also led in interceptions too. So
exactly.
Our defense just bailed us out in a lot of those games, like the Bears game and a couple other games too. But they just couldn't bail us out against CJ Stroud, man. CJ Stroud was just seemed like every pass he threw, man, was just on the money every single time. That big play to Nico Collins. There's another one.
Brevin Jordan, you talking about?
The Brevin Jordan one. Brevin Jordan just takes to the house with shitty tackling. Yep. I think that was the backbreaker because after that, the floodgates opened.
It really did, yeah. I mean, it's funny because the narrative before the season started, right, when we were getting ready to do some 24 rookie mocks and do some 24 draft picks and stuff, and it's funny looking at 23 how CJ Stroud was kind of like, not saying he wasn't a high pick, but he was the clear third cut candidate, and it's just weird when we look back at it, like the reasons. It's like, well, yeah, he is highly accurate, but he's not going to have any weapons, and are we sure he can do anything with his legs? After we saw him do some stuff with his legs versus Georgia, and obviously hindsight's 2020, but he has been incredible to watch and awesome for our fantasy teams.
Yeah, I mean, he made Tank Dell. He made Nico Collins a star. I mean, Nico Collins did stay healthy for a change. He did miss a couple games, but, Nico Collins became a star overnight with that. Tank Dell's, a top 25 wide receiver rookie pick now, or, picking startups.
Yeah, absolutely.
He made all these guys look pretty good, so.
Speaking of guys, Dalton Schultz had a touchdown versus the Browns too, and Dalton Schultz, I remember when he took the money to go to Houston, you're kind of like, oh man, you're not going to have Dak anymore, and we'll see if this works out. You got your bag. Guy went and has a great quarterback throwing the ball again, so good on Dalton Schultz too.
Yeah, and he's a free agent. I don't even know if they're going to keep him at that price tag, so we'll see what happens there. The only one who didn't do good for Houston was like Dameon Pierce. Like he fell off the map completely.
Yeah, I was just going to say the other guy that benefited was Devin Singletary, who had like a career year for himself. And it is interesting that, CJ Stroud was like the rising tide for all ships, but not, to your point, not Dameon Pierce, everyone but him.
Yep. And then most of the other games were blowouts besides for the Detroit and Rams game, which was a great game.
Yeah.
Kansas City, Miami. I don't think Miami just had a shot in that cold, man. That there's wasn't going to happen. Tua was not very good, but it's the cold weather, man. Like that team was just not built for cold weather.
No. I mean, well, when you're talking about that one, I don't think anybody was shocked when they had to go to KC and you're looking at that type of a cold day. Let me ask you though, because the Lions and the Rams was a great game, but biggest surprise. I would imagine for most people it's going to be an NFC East specific team. So was it a bigger surprise for you to see the Buccaneers absolutely in those cheeks for the Philadelphia Eagles, or Jordan Love and the Packers to come into Dallas and absolutely lay down. I believe it was 40-16 at one point, right?
So, yeah, something crazy. I think 41-16, actually.
Okay.
Give
Yep.
him some credit.
That's true. Yeah. Don't slide them.
I would say my biggest one would be Jordan Love
Okay.
going in there, just because the Eagles were so banged up. No A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts' fingers screwed up. Devontae Smith, he practiced full, but he had missed like the 2 weeks prior. Julio Jones got hurt in the game. They were just banged up with injuries. So the Bucks smashing them didn't really surprise me. Jordan Love, I talked about this with Scott Connor because me and him did our FFPC playoff challenges together, and we talked about we thought Green Bay had a shot to win this game. It wasn't like we thought, oh, Dallas is just gonna smoke them, and the point spread was 7.5 going into the game, and I'm like, I took Green Bay with the points each time, so. When I did my bets,
It's a great pick.
Yeah, it turned out to be. And then, that just didn't shock me that Green Bay went in there and won the game at all.
Now, see, and that's the thing. I wouldn't have been surprised. Let's say Dallas being Dallas, right? Cowboys going to Cowboy. I wouldn't have been surprised to see him lose. I was surprised to see though the Packers from basically start to finish just dominate that game. That was the biggest thing to me that was so shocking.
It reminded me a lot of the Thanksgiving game against Detroit. Everyone thought, oh, Detroit's going to smoke Green Bay. It's on Thanksgiving. Detroit always plays good on Thanksgiving. And Jordan Love I think they went up like 21-0 in the Thanksgiving game too, or something crazy like that.
Yeah, they did.
Jordan Love was dealing. And it was on the road in a big game. I'm like, man, Jordan Love's been here before. He's done it.
Well, what's crazy though is at that point, I remember the game that he played first versus the Lions early in the year. He really struggled in that game. So going into Thanksgiving, you're kind of like the Lions had their number last game, but Jordan Love came and balled. We have seen Jordan Love play tremendously different. I'd say the last 2/3 of the season, he's been tremendous, and he's a totally different quarterback. But man, that ass whooping they gave the Cowboys to me was probably the biggest surprise. I was surprised to see the Eagles get completely stomped to that degree, but I definitely could have seen, in Tampa, them losing that game.
Yeah, for sure. That one was pretty exciting to me. We'll talk about the Rams and Lions real quick, man. That was a great game, just back and forth. I thought the Rams would win, but I took them with the 3 points, so I did win on that regard. But Lions, they were able to do just enough to win. Puka Nacua, man, holy shit,
stud,
absolute stud.
Speaking of that, Eric, the last play of the game for the Rams, anyway, right? They threw the ball to Puka. It looked like he kind of was draped all over. Did you think it was a good no call, or do you think they should have called that one?
I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and watch.
Third down, they threw it across. It was like a post route. Kind of had a defender draped on him, and then as he's coming down, he couldn't get his hands all the way up, and then got kind of hit second on the helmet.
There was a lot of questionable calls this weekend in games. I remember Cleveland got screwed on a couple.
For sure. Luckily, it didn't matter, so we didn't even have to worry about it, right?
There was some questionable calls this weekend, like there always is. But, I mean, that Lions Rams game was just was fun, man.
It was awesome to watch.
Yeah, Puka and Amon-Ra are top 7, 8 wide receivers in Dynasty. Absolutely easy.
Yeah, I just redid my ranks, Eric. I'm curious to see where you have them. Let's see how close or how far we are apart on this one.
Yeah, I redid my rankings as well, so we can pull it up real quick and take a look.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's see how close or how far we are on this. So,
all right, on wide receivers here. So I have Puka at 7. You have him at 6.
There you go. Yep. Yeah, I got AJ Brown at 7. I have Puka at 6, Tyreek at 5, Amon-Ra at 4. But that whole thing is tier 2 for me, right? So
right. Yeah, that's how I am. I'm pretty much tier 2. Well, actually, I have my tiers a little different. I have my tiers as Chase, Jefferson, Lamb. Then I do have it as that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. I was reading it wrong.
Yeah, those first 3 for me: Chase, Lamb, and Jefferson. So I have it in the opposite. I have it as Jefferson 1, Lamb 2, Jamar Chase 3, in that, and then it's all tier 1. Then Amon-Ra, Tyreek, Puka, AJ Brown, all tier 2.
Yeah, I have it. Chase, Jefferson, Lamb is my tier 1. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, Puka, Tyreek is my tier 2.
Okay. I put Garrett Wilson as the start of my tier 3. Let me ask you then, on Garrett Wilson, I see you're rocking the Rodgers jersey. Is that part of why you keep him in tier 2? Is it quarterback?
Yeah,
help
I
him this
mean,
year?
I think, yeah, he's going to have a better quarterback coming this year. He's going to, I mean, look at the numbers he put up, where without Aaron Rodgers this year. I mean, it was fucking amazing.
And the targets were coming in hot and heavy. The stats week to week were not necessarily as consistent, but if you look at the targets and what he was earning, and still having plenty of games where he's got 93, 100, 90, 80, 108.
Yeah, his PPR ranks weren't like he was in the 20s, but 168 targets, 95 catches, 1,042 yards, only the 3 touchdowns because that offense was so inept. But man, Garrett Wilson, like, just some of his catches he was making with shitty quarterbacks and the way he plays, man, he's a star. He just needs a good quarterback, and getting Aaron Rodgers next year should be good. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets actually do go out and get Devontae Adams too. Then you're going to have Wilson and Adams. Fuck.
That would be crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that too. For me, I guess the reason I have him in tier 3 and tier 2 would be like Garrett Wilson, I think, has all the tools and traits as an Ohio State guy. Like, just I love his game, but I've seen it from the guys in tier 2. It's the only reason I differentiate.
Right.
But
right.
I get the projection for sure.
I mean, Garrett Wilson has put up, probably better numbers than Olave, Waddle, Ayuk, all these guys. Like, it's not that far off. So
no, I'm not saying it's far off.
I mean, I throw him in tier 2 with these guys, with AJ Brown and Puka and all that. I could maybe get behind moving Puka above AJ Brown.
Yeah, that's what I have right now because of the age. I have Puka at 6 and AJ Brown at 7. I can't get behind. Like, I've seen Keep Trade Cut has Tyreek at like 9. I can't get him out of tier 2. I don't understand it. I understand.
He's at the very bottom of my tier 2, but he's still a phenomenal player, man. The dude's putting up 1,700 yards. You got to have that guy.
Yeah, no doubt. What was really cool about the in the playoff game too, to the point you're making, right? We saw Amon-Ra 7 for 110. We saw obviously Puka 9 for 181 and a touchdown, breaking DK Metcalf's record. What I really liked about Puka this year was he left no doubt, really. I mean, you could argue the total yards because of the extra game, like that one was the extra game was what did it for him, right? But he broke reception record of Jalen Waddle. He broke the yard record. He had the NFL record. He had most receptions in a game for a rookie at 15. Like, he basically shattered all the rookie records, not all of them, but almost all of them, a large degree of the rookie record. So he really left no doubt this year. And then in the playoff game, literally almost put this team on his back, man. Like, you look at the offensive production, it was all him.
Yeah, like, I was like, hey, you guys know you have Cooper Kupp, right? Like, they hardly. 27. Yeah, like, he just didn't do anything. They're not targeting him at all like they used to. Like, I'm like, man, you got both of these guys. Use them. I don't know if it's just Kupp is just not the same from that ankle injury he's had all season. Maybe that's what it is. It's just still bothering him, and he's not the same.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna probably lean towards. That's probably what it was. Also, he's older player now, so
yeah.
But yeah, Puka was just special this year. Absolutely special.
Yeah, it was. It would have been nice to see, for Sam Laporta, who still had a touchdown, but he's still dealing with that injury, and that Sam Laporta breaking the rookie records for the tight end position on this team too. So,
right.
This game was really awesome to watch. There were so many blowouts this week, Eric, that this game was a fun one to watch and see the Rams and the Lions go battle like that.
Right. Who do you got this week? Who's making the championship games?
Yeah, I think. Listen, as good as the Packers have been, and as much as Jordan Love has been an awesome story this year, I just think the Niners are a different breed. I personally really want to see the Niners play the Ravens in the Super Bowl. So I think that's like the best game. So that's what I'm hoping will end up happening. I think the Ravens are going to beat the Texans. I think the Niners are going to beat the Packers. I think the Lions will end up beating the Bucks, and then I'm going to say that this time, finally, the Bills take out the Chiefs.
Okay, so you're gonna have Bills, Ravens, and Niners and Lions.
Correct. Yep.
That's probably where I'm leaning to. Give all the home teams basically the wins there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough to win any other place. I would say if I could see one upset, it would probably be the Chiefs over the Bills. I could see that. You know, those teams have played so many times; they know each other.
Definitely.
The one, I mean, we've seen Lamar win playoff games, but Lamar has had some bad playoff games too, man. So
No doubt. I think he's won one playoff game, right?
yeah, I think it's only one. He beat the Titans that one year.
Yeah.
So I think he needs to get over that hump too. He needs to get that big win. Then obviously get in the AFC Championship game. Hopefully he can win that one too. Not saying Lamar's a bad player. I love the guy. He's fourth in my quarterback ranks, but gotta see him win the big games, man.
Yeah.
You know, he's still a really good player and all that. He's just got to get over that hump finally, and he's got the team to do it this year. They're a complete team, so I think they'll be able to get it done.
Yeah, I think that the defense in particular is really, really good for this Ravens team. They've been playing well, despite not having Andrews. Offense has been humming. I think they're built to at least win this game. The Texans are. I think the Texans are going to come to play. I don't think it's going to be one they walk away from easily. But
yeah, I think they played earlier in the season. It was one of Stroud's like first 2 or 3 games of the season, and I think they only put up like 9 points. He struggled. They're going to see a different C.J. Stroud this time, that's for sure.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud is playing a lot more like a veteran than a rookie right now, so it'll be fun to watch that one.
Yeah, I think all 4 games should be really good. I don't see any blowouts. Should be closer games.
Yeah, actually, that was the first game of the year, by the way. The Ravens.
Oh, it was first game of the year. Okay.
and Stroud was okay, but the offense as a whole just didn't do much. 25-9.
Yeah. I knew they only put up like 9 points. So. All right, so on this week's episode, what me and Adam are going to do, there was 2 mock drafts that came out this week. One from Dane Brugler of The Athletic, and one from Shane Hallam of NFL Draft Countdown. Shane actually did a 7-round mock. Props to you, Shane, to do a 7-round mock in January.
Built different, man. Built different, right?
Very built different. So props to him on that. We'll post links to each draft on the tweet for this in the description as well. So if you guys want to go and look at their mock drafts, check them out, give them some love, follow them on Twitter and all that stuff, you can go ahead and do that. So we're going to use those 2 today. Which one do you want to do first? Do you want to do Dane's or you want to do Shane's?
Let's start with Dane's, and then we'll get into Shane's second. How about that?
Sure. So I'll go through the mock draft here. We're only obviously doing offensive players for fantasy football. Since Dane Brugler only did a 2-round mock, there was only enough players to do like 16 picks or so. There's 20 players total, so we're going to do 16. Not a full 2-round mock, but pretty close enough. So yeah, just going to go through it here real quick. Number 1 overall, Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams. Number 2, the Washington Commanders selected Drake May. Number 3, the Patriots selected Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 4, the Cardinals selected Malik Neighbors from LSU. Number 5, the Chargers took Brock Bowers, tight end from Georgia. The Giants took Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington. Atlanta, number 8, took Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU.
Ooh, that would be spicy right there.
Yeah. Go down here a little bit. Brian Thomas Jr. was the next one. Number 17 to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
A little T-Law help.
Yep. Number 19, J.J. McCarthy to the L.A. Rams. And number 29, Keon Coleman, wide receiver from Florida State, to Buffalo. And then in round 2, Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver to Carolina. Number 34 was Bo Nix to New England to pair up with Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 43 was Jalen Polk from Washington going to Atlanta. Michael Penix Jr. going to Las Vegas at pick 44. Pick 49, Ladd McConkey to Cincinnati. Pick 54 was the Cleveland Browns. They took Troy Franklin, a wide receiver from Oregon. 56, Jonathan Brooks, running back from Dallas, or going to Dallas from Texas.
Yep.
Xavier Worthy, another Texas product, going to Tampa Bay at pick 57. Malachi Corley, pick 59 to Houston from Houston, going to Houston. I'm sorry. And then pick 60 was Jatavian Sanders, another Texas guy, going to Kansas City.
Ooh.
So, yeah, pretty interesting picks here. So, with you being the guest, sir, we're going to do a super flex mock tight end premium 1.5 start one, just kind of a normal PPR type draft. I'll let you have the first pick and we'll just alternate.
All right, man. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is just unbelievable, right? And there's not much that you could do to really change that for me. If there was a tiebreaker that I don't want to see happen, it would be this, where he goes to New England. So without having a specific team in mind, like I'm drafting for needs or anything, just in draft picks, I'm going to go ahead and take Caleb Williams, number 1, going to the Chicago Bears. I'll just take it right away.
All right, so we got Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears draft pick, going number 1 to Adam. So pick 2 here for me. I think with the weapons that he is going to have with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and a super flex draft, I think I would be comfortable taking Jaden Daniels in the dome with all those weapons at number 2. So give me Jaden Daniels to Atlanta.
I like it.
It kind of reminds me of Anthony Richardson a little bit, where, he's got just some weapons there. He's got Jonathan Taylor. He's got Pittman.
Yeah.
He wasn't the first quarterback taken in the draft or second quarterback taken in the draft, but hey, he's still going to produce in fantasy.
Yeah. You give a guy like Jaden Daniels all those weapons and that offense, absolutely exciting. And this is why I say Caleb Williams 1, because all of a sudden now at 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think is the easy one for me here. Even in New England, I could see him just being a monster with no other options there.
All right, so number 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. going to New England is the 3rd pick. In a super flex draft, I think I just take the next guy, Drake May, number 2 overall pick to Washington. In a super flex draft, I think I would just be comfortable with that. It's not like he doesn't have weapons too, man. He's going to have McLaurin. He's going to have Jahan Dotson still.
Yeah.
They got Brian Robinson, who really showed off in the receiving game later in the year. And I would assume that they're going to draft him some more weapons. They need to really fix that offensive line, because you can't have Drake May getting killed like Sam Howell did with the most sacks given up in the league.
Yeah,
so
no
they
doubt.
really, really got to address that offensive line. That's got to be one of their big key issues after fixing the quarterback spot. They got to get that offensive line right so Drake May doesn't get killed. But, man, Drake May with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, I like those combos, man. That's a great setup for Drake May to start. You're not worried about, oh, he doesn't have weapons to throw to. Well, McLaurin and Drake May are Jahan Dotson can play in this league, so I like that.
Yeah, Drake May is not void of talent there.
Right.
At the 4 spot, you got to love that, man. Number 2 quarterback overall, going to an offense.
And I think this is how most of our drafts are going to end up, with these 4 players probably in some form or fashion.
Definitely that way. And that's what makes, I think for me, the 5th pick overall, 105, is pretty easily, like, you can make a case right now that the top 3 picks are different. But I could also just as easily right now make the case that the top 5 picks are different. If Jaden Daniels is going to get this type of draft capital, because now at 5, I'm going to love getting at 105. Malik Neighbors going to Arizona would be crazy, man.
Yeah, it kind of seems like, from what Dane is saying here, that no matter what, the Arizona is going to go receiver. That either Marvin Harrison Jr., if they get him, or if he goes before them, they're going to take Neighbors or Dunze, whoever they like. Sounds like Arizona is going to get a receiver for Kyler Murray, and getting Malik Neighbors to go with the rest of their team. I like that.
I do too. Now I think really the draft really starts here now, right? As far as what you're going to do. So I'm curious, Eric. What do you do at the 106 now?
I think. even with the tight end premium and all that, I don't think I would go Brock Bowers here. Not yet. I think I'm gonna go Rome Odunze, who I really, really like.
That's what I
He's
would do
going
too.
sixth overall to the Giants. They really need a wide receiver. Rome Odunze could do everything. Um, he might not put up like statistics like Neighbors and Harrison Jr., but I think he's just as good as any of those three. Hopefully the Giants get their quarterback situation figured out, but Odunze should come in and be the alpha number one wide receiver right away. So that's why I'm going to take him.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think here, knowing your league and what you want to do with your team, like JJ McCarthy going to the Rams is interesting because he probably can sit behind Stafford, but there's been injuries where he might come on the field. I think as you saw with Jordan Love, it's not necessarily a bad thing to sit for a year. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. It's not a bad thing to sit for a season. While I could make the case there, this is where you have to know your league. If it's a tight end premium that's high enough and that position is one that people fawn over, you've seen people pay up for Kincaid and Laporta in your type of a league. I'll say right now that I'm not typically excited to draft a tight end here. But at 7, I think knowing most of my leagues, I'll take Brock Bowers with the intention to flip later because I think him going number 5 overall to a team that needs weapons on offense is huge.
And they're going to have to do a total reset this offseason. They're like projected 40-something plus million over the cap. And if they cut Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, that's like $60 million off of their books between those two.
Yep.
So I would expect Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to be cut. They're going to need some guys here for the offense. Gerald Everett's a free agent. I think Parham might be a free agent too, or exclusive rights free agent. Bowers would come in and obviously provide a major upgrade there. And I could see Bowers having, I mean, I don't want to say he's going to have a historic Sam Laporta type season, but if there was a guy that could come in and do the same thing that Sam Laporta just did, it would be Brock Bowers for sure.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, there was some debate, but I think for me, even with this A-Warp tight end life, I'm gonna try to take it and flip it later, man. It's just too, I think it's too enticing. Top 5 overall pick, guy that you can flip in a lot of leagues.
Right. So with my next pick here, yeah, I could see J.J. McCarthy and all that. I do like Brian Thomas Jr., good player. Keon Coleman to Buffalo as well. I think I am actually going to lean Keon Coleman here for Buffalo.
That would have been my next pick too, damn it.
Okay. With Gabe Davis, a free agent, possibly leaving. We don't know with Stephon Diggs either. Like there's always drama with Stephon Diggs, it seems like. Keon Coleman could definitely come in and be the number 2, big physical, guy that can go down and get the ball for him. Something different that Buffalo really hasn't had in their offense. So I think this would be a really nice addition to Buffalo. It would be Keon Coleman.
Definitely agree. Definitely agree. I think here is where now you have to decide Brian Thomas Jr. or McCarthy. For me here, this isn't really how it works, but knowing that I have the next pick, and I like some of the receivers still that I can take later, I'm going to go ahead and lock up J.J. McCarthy. For the record, I'm not really big on McCarthy, the player. I don't really see it with him, to be honest. He's a tough evaluation because he's not asked to do much in this system either, right? I think that's one of the tough parts. But first round quarterback, super flex league, I'm going to go ahead and take McCarthy there.
Yeah, and you get Sean McVay as your coach, who's been really good with quarterbacks. I mean, he's Jared Goff, Matt Stafford. He's turned into superstars. Yeah, I mean, you gotta love that opportunity. It reminds me of the Burrow to a Herbert draft, where Herbert was always the 3rd quarterback taken.
Exactly.
Obviously McCarthy would be the 4th quarterback taken here, but still, man, like, even if he has to wait a year, which he probably would behind Stafford, McCarthy, he could really develop there. So you could have a really good piece on your hands in 2025 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, at a certain point, just taking the quarterback value, is
especially in super flex leagues. Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
Next up, I am going to take the last first round player, and that was Brian Thomas Jr. going to Jacksonville. I'm assuming with this pick, that means Calvin Ridley did not get re-signed. So Christian Kirk's still there. You still got Evan Ingram, all that. They're going to need another outside receiver. Brian Thomas is another outside receiver that can get it done. He had a great year with Jaden Daniels and LSU. So I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. there at pick 10.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Man, for me here, this next pick becomes a lot tougher. There's a couple guys here that I could make cases for. And I know, like, Scott's big thing is top 50. If you're not in the top 50, doesn't care. 54 for me is close enough to top 50. I think we've seen some guys that weren't top 50 matter this year. And I think that the Cleveland Browns, with Amari Cooper getting older, with Elijah Moore not really being the guy that we want him to be, I think Troy Franklin is the guy that makes sense for me in an offense that should be moving the ball. I'm going to take Troy Franklin here.
Yeah, he could kind of be Watson's new Will Fuller, just a better player than Will Fuller.
Exactly. Yeah, and hopefully staying more healthy. Right?
Yeah, staying more healthy and all that. I do like that pick a lot. It's a good fit. Troy Franklin there to Cleveland. Pick 12 here. I am going to take in a super flex draft. I'm going to take Michael Penix Jr. going to Las Vegas. If I'm picking pick 12, I didn't trade my pick. I'm the league champion.
Yep.
To get a quarterback like that early, this late in the first round here, Michael Penix Jr., who could come in and start for Vegas right away. Like, I like Aiden O'Connell and stuff, but Penix Jr. is not going to be a pushover to start. It's going to be a legit competition between Aiden O'Connell and Penix Jr. to start there. If they don't bring anybody else in, Garoppolo's still under contract too. It's going to be a three-way dogfight there. If it's Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and Penix, I would assume Garoppolo gets moved. But even still, Penix and Aiden O'Connell, it's going to be a dogfight to see who starts. And it wouldn't shock me if it's Penix there. If they trade Devontae Adams, that kind of sucks for Penix, but he's still going to have Mayer. He's still going to have Jacoby Myers. Hopefully, in this draft, they can maybe get him some more pieces or get him some pieces in free agency as well. I would go Penix Jr. here at pick 12.
Yeah, it makes sense. It was one I was considering last pick, but I wanted to go ahead and take my shot on Troy Franklin. I'll say this next one to me is where we start to have, like, this is the 201 with the mock draft that I'm looking at. Gets a little tougher. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Adonai Mitchell guy, and so
it's Carolina.
It's Carolina, but I'm going to go ahead and do that at 201. I'm going to go ahead and take Adonai Mitchell going to Carolina. There's a lot of guys here that I kind of like. Like, I could definitely make a strong case for maybe taking Xavier Worthy going to Tampa better, but I don't know. I think Adonai Mitchell value-wise for me, I can't pass up at 201 there.
Okay. Let's see. I think in a super flex draft, I would take a quarterback again. Even though I don't like the player, I'm not a Bo Nix fan at all. But if he goes 34th overall to New England, he gets Marvin Harrison Jr. as his receiver. He's got Pop Douglas. So he has a couple weapons at least. Ramondre Stevenson coming back. New offense, new regime. I'll go ahead and take Bo Nix there with pick 14.
I like it. The next one here is tough because, like, Jalen Polk going to Atlanta, the problem I see there is, while I love it with Jaden Daniels going there, it's like, man, there's a lot of weapons. There are already a lot of mouths to feed.
But a receiver, there's only Drake London, and that's it.
Yeah, but Kyle Pitts, you kind of assume is going to be getting targets. You would hope.
Oh, yeah, but even still, he's going to be the second receiver in the offense.
He'd be the second receiver, but is he going to outcatch? He's what I'm going to take at 15, by the way. But is he going to outcatch? Is he going to get as many targets as probably even Bijan Robinson? Is he going to have in the target range of Kyle Pitts? And any offense that has an offensive quarterback, which is going to run as much as Jaden Daniels possibly will, that fourth mouth tends to be not necessarily as sure of a surefire of a thing. So that's kind of, I guess, while the offense I hope is humming and gives a lot of opportunities, that's where it's a little tougher for me to take in there. But that's what I'm going to do at 203.
Okay. And my final pick of the mock draft here, pick 16, I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks, the running back from Texas, going to Dallas. And I found an interesting little nugget in here that I want to read from Dane Brugler about this pick. So let me pull it up here real quick. Okay, here it is. This pick makes too much sense. With Tony Pollard a pending free agent, running back could be a need for Dallas. And even though Brooks tore his ACL in November, the Cowboys have never shied away from taking risks, especially in the second round. Brooks was expected to be the RB1 before his injury and still has a chance to be the first back off the board. There is another layer here, too. Renowned surgeon Dr. Dan Cooper, the Cowboys' head physician, is the one who performed Brooks' surgery. No other team will have better information on Brooks' recovery. I'm also told that Brooks will be present at the East-West Shrine Bowl game for interviews with NFL teams. So that's huge for me right there. Like, the guy who performed the surgery is the head physician for the Cowboys. They're going to have all the information they need on Jonathan Brooks, and they're going to be comfortable with their head physician doing the surgery on this guy. This guy was having a tremendous year before his injury, and he still might be RB1 in this class. So you give me the RB1 going to Dallas. Tony Pollard could probably walk. Jonathan Brooks might be, part of the committee to start to get recovered from his ACL injury, but sky would be the limit there for Jonathan Brooks. So I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, I definitely can get behind it. I mean, you start getting to honestly probably even the early part of the second here, depending on what prospect goes where. If there's an opportunity for, I think, work right away for that running back, I can see it in this part of the second round, no doubt.
Right. And then, we have Jatavian Sanders that didn't go. He went to Kansas City.
Yeah, that one's spicy. That one is tough to lay off of. If we were to keep going here, I mean, Eric,
I'd probably be the next pick.
I was gonna say I'd probably take him at 205, but
yeah.
I couldn't take it ahead of those receivers that had pretty high draft capital in situations that I kind of can see.
And then Tampa Bay, they have Evans and Godwin are both free agents this offseason. So if they both left, and you knew that before the rookie draft, obviously, I think Worthy would go higher than, we haven't picked him yet, but I think Worthy would go, you'd probably take him over Adonai Mitchell for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Xavier Worthy for me, if I would say if even one of them, so let's say they retained Godwin and let Evans walk or vice versa, I think Xavier Worthy's already like, I'd probably swap him ahead of either Adonai Mitchell or Jalen Polk for sure.
Right. All right, so that is it for the Dane Brugler mock. We're going to switch over to Shane Hallam's mock of draftcountdown.com. Like I said, he did a 7-round mock. I'm not going to go through all 7 rounds here, but I have the first 4 rounds, and me and Adam are going to do a full 2-round mock with the landing spots here for you guys. 1 to 24. So, gonna go over the first. Let's go over the first round here. Chicago Bears, number 1 overall, take Caleb Williams. Washington Commanders at 2, take Jaden Daniels. Number 3, the New England Patriots took Drake May. Number 4, the Arizona Cardinals get Marvin Harrison Jr. LA Chargers at 5, take Malik Neighbors. Then a big drop from Brugler's mock, who had a bunch of guys at like 6 and 8 and all that. Our next offensive player doesn't go till 14, and that was Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver from LSU to New Orleans. 15 is where he had Rome Odunze falling, the wide receiver from Washington to Indianapolis. 18, the Cincinnati Bengals get Brock Bowers. 28, the Kansas City Chiefs get wide receiver Troy Franklin from Oregon. Buffalo Bills at 30 took Xavier Worthy, wide receiver from Texas. And that's it for the first round. Second round, pick 33, the Carolina Panthers take Keon Coleman, wide receiver, Florida State. 34, New England Patriots, to match up with Drake May, get him Xavier Legette, wide receiver, South Carolina. New York Giants at 39 get Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas. 40, the Washington Commanders take Jatavian Sanders, tight end from Texas. Minnesota Vikings at 42 take Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback from Washington. 43, they have the Falcons taking quarterback Bo Nix. 49, the Bengals taking running back Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. 56, Dallas Cowboys taking Ladd McConkey, wide receiver, Georgia. Houston Texans take Jonathan Brooks, the running back from Texas. And 61, Detroit Lions take Devontae Walker, wide receiver, North Carolina. Third round, 72, the New York Jets take Roman Wilson, the wide receiver from Michigan. 74, Atlanta takes Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver, Florida. 76, Denver takes J.J. McCarthy, quarterback from Michigan. 83, Tampa Bay takes Jacob Cowing, wide receiver, Arizona. 85, Pittsburgh Steelers take Jalen Polk, wide receiver, Washington. Arizona Cardinals at 89 take running back Trey Benson from Florida State. Houston Texans at 90 take Jalen McMillan, wide receiver from Washington. Green Bay Packers at pick 93 take running back Blake Corum from Michigan. 95, Baltimore Ravens take Jalen Wright, running back Tennessee. San Francisco at 99 takes wide receiver Jamare Thrash, wide receiver Louisville. And then the fourth round, 101, the Carolina Panthers took Cade Stover, tight end, Ohio State. 105, the Chargers took Bucky Irving, running back from Oregon. 107, the Giants take Michael Pratt, quarterback, Tulane. Vikings 108 take Audric Estime, hopefully I said that right, running back, Notre Dame. 112, the Las Vegas Raiders select Spencer Rattler, quarterback, South Carolina. 114, the Jags take Jerry Rice's kid, Brendan Rice, wide receiver from USC. 119, Tampa Bay takes Marshawn Lloyd, running back from USC. 122, Denver takes Malik Washington, wide receiver, Virginia. 126, Houston takes tight end Jaheim Bell from Florida State. 131, the 49ers take Will Shipley, running back, Clemson. And 132, the Baltimore Ravens select Johnny Wilson, wide receiver, Florida State.
Boom.
All right, so Adam, I'm going to give you the honors again, man, for this draft. So go ahead, pick number one. Who you taking?
So gracious, giving me the honors again. I'll tell you what, this time, to spice it up a little bit, with Marvin Harrison going to the Cardinals, I'm in. I want Marv. Give me Marv, man.
Wow, number one overall in a super flex.
Yep. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay.
I'm assuming full PPR, but
yeah, full PPR.
give me Marv, man. Give me Marv.
Okay. I think that's a little crazy. That would never happen, but I don't want to say never happen, but
Really?
yeah. I mean, I just think as super flex, you just got to take the quarterback, especially with three of them getting first, second, third. I guess it depends on your team. Like if you have a team with, I don't know, Mahomes and Herbert, I guess you really don't need the quarterback. So I get it.
Yeah.
You're just going to have more trade value there with Caleb, but I think Marvin, like he's going to have trade value too. So
Yeah,
I guess it just depends on your team, I guess.
Don't get me wrong. You're going to see, I think that the quarterbacks have, it's in a 12-team Superflex league. There's plenty of scarcity and problems with the quarterback position. Not saying I don't want Caleb, not saying I don't want these guys, but I think Marv already is going to be in the range of that first tier. When we talked about our rankings earlier, I think Marv already is going to be slotted in value-wise with the Chases and the CDs and the Jeffersons, which is going to be stupid value. The receivers are a position that everybody wants.
Okay. At pick 2, I run to the podium. I just take Caleb Williams there. If you're going to pass on him at 1, I'll go ahead and take Caleb Williams at number 2.
Makes sense.
Number 3, who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Jaden Daniels here. Tiebreaker of the landing spot for me. I think I'll take Jaden at the third spot here.
I mean, I think if Jaden Daniels does go this high, even if he went 8 to Atlanta like he did in our other draft, like his rushing ability over Drake. I mean, Drake May can rush the ball. I'm not saying he can't, but Jaden Daniels has like Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields type rushing ability where he could put up that many type of yards.
Yep.
So in fantasy, I think personally, I am going to have Jaden Daniels higher than Drake May. If he goes this high. Now, if Jaden Daniels falls to, early round 2 and Drake May is a top 3 pick, then I'll probably go Drake May. Sure. But Jaden Daniels, he's still going to be very valuable just because of his rushing upside.
No doubt.
Superflex, still going to stick here with Drake May going number 3 overall to the New England Patriots. I'm just going to take, that Superflex guy. but you're going to need him. So I'm going to take Drake May. Number 4.
Yeah, I think these top 5 are going to shake out to be any type of order of these 5 pretty easily. With mock drafts looking like this, I would have definitely taken May there at 4. I'll take 5 here pretty easily. Malik Neighbors going top 5 to the Chargers. One thing about this draft is crazy. Top 5 picks, all fantasy. We love for Dynasty, right?
Yeah, and then like Brugler's, I think it was the top 5 or 6. Something crazy like that too. He had all the receivers there. Bowers was in there, so it's gonna be kind of crazy to see if Bowers does go top 5 like that. I mean, I know he's super talented, but you just don't see many tight ends go that high. So
yeah, hasn't been probably since Pitts getting that high, right?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it in future episodes, but man, like the tight end position, like the rookies the last 2 or 3 years have just been outstanding. Like maybe we're on to something where tight ends like can come into the NFL and start producing right away now. So I don't know. Something crazy. So I am up here now at pick 6. I think I am going to I'm going to stick with what I did in the last draft just because I think he's in a tier. There's Marvin Harrison Jr., and then like the 1B tier is Neighbors and Odunze together. I think they're both outstanding. So I'm going to go ahead and take Rome Odunze here, going 15 to the Indianapolis Colts. I think obviously they're going to re-sign Pittman. They have to give Pittman whatever the hell he wants. That guy is special. And then pairing up Odunze there with Richardson. You got Josh Downs as well there. They're going to have a pretty potent offense there if this were to happen. So give me Rome Odunze to the Colts at 15.
Yeah, that one's pretty nice. I think that would not be ideal for Joshua Downs. So that would also be really good for Anthony Richardson. We want him to stay healthy.
Yep.
I think for me here, I mean, you're looking at right now, you've got the landing spot of perfection with Brock Bowers going to Cincy. You've got Troy Franklin going to KC with pairing him with Rashee Rice. I don't think, though, I know the quarterback situation's a little different. Top 15 overall and Brian Thomas Jr. going to the Saints. I don't think at 7 I could pass up on that, man. I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. here.
Okay. I could see that too. He should come in and be, at least the wide receiver 2 behind Olave there. Michael Thomas probably should be gone, hopefully. Like that guy's just a headache and a half. So hopefully he's gone on to New Orleans.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I do like this pick. I don't know if I would have done that, but he would have definitely been in the conversation.
What are you going to do then, Brock Bowers?
Yeah, I think in this spot, I am going to go ahead and take Brock Bowers, paired up with Joe Burrow. I think that's probably where I would have went at 7. Definitely like Bowers in this landing spot, but a couple of these other receivers are good landing spots too. So we'll see what you do.
Yeah, and I mean, with Brock Bowers, I think last draft with Brugler, for example, there wasn't like a receiver in this range that also was going to take away a top 5 tight end. Where I like him going to Cincy. Don't get me wrong, but overall, the tight end position is one I'm going to pass on if I feel like this opportunity for the wide receiver is really, really good. So kind of the difference in the 2 mocks for me here. And then with you taking Brock Bowers there, for me, makes the next pick Troy Franklin going to KC going to be what I'll take. Right. You just see with Kelsey starting to trend the wrong way, with Rashee Rice opportunity starting to really skyrocket, I see Troy Franklin being an option that Patrick Mahomes really, really needs in this offense.
Yeah, he needs it desperately. I feel bad for the guy with MVS and Justin Watson and these guys out there. Kadarius Toney wasn't even active last week. Like, other than Rashee Rice and Kelsey and Pacheco, like they got nothing. So they get him some weapons.
I'll just always see that unbelievable pass he put right on the numbers of MVS. For that touchdown that he drops.
Right. So with my pick here, I think I am going to take the last wide receiver of the first round, Xavier Worthy, going to Buffalo. Great landing spot with Josh Allen, my quarterback 1 in Dynasty. So I don't think I can go wrong there. I think Franklin and Worthy, you could pick your guy that you want there, whichever one you like better, because they're probably pretty similar. So
Yeah, sure. I like both those guys. If you would have told me you prefer Worthy going to Buffalo, I'm not really going to fight you. I just think there's opportunity in KC that's clear as day to take. So that's why I took it. For me, the next several picks here, you could probably make a case for guys. I'm just going to take Keon Coleman. I like the prospect of Keon Coleman. I know that in Carolina there's a lot of question marks, but I think one of the biggest question marks is receiver. And I think that Keon Coleman has the opportunity to be the alpha in this offense. So I'm going to take him.
Keon Coleman to pick 11. Carolina Panthers at pick 33. I like that pick for him. Should be a good spot for them just because Chark's a free agent. Thielen is dust. Mingo didn't really pop off like I thought he would. So Keon Coleman has a shot to come in, be the alpha number one wide receiver there for Carolina. So I like the pick. My pick here. Ooh, tough picks here. I think I'm going to go ahead and take Michael Penix Jr. at pick 12 here, like I did in the last draft. Going to Minnesota at pick 42, another good spot. You're going to have that dude throwing to Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson when he comes back. Yeah, give me Michael Penix Jr. there.
I like it. I think at this point here, when I'm looking at it, right, I could say to myself, okay, Bo Nix, like if he ends up taking the reins in Atlanta, that could be really special as far as just fantasy
he
opportunity.
Should. Like, it ain't Heineke and Ritter, so
right.
Even I would take Bo Nix over those two.
Yeah, right. Oh, for sure. And like I'm not the biggest Bo Nix guy, so I'm right here. I'm basically saying to myself, do I want to take that, or do I swing for? We know that running backs, like you can say, when running backs don't matter. Like I think the reality is running backs don't matter except for the ones that do. Right? There's only a few number that does, and I think a guy like Braylon Allen's talent and ability for the red zone, that big back in an offense that we project to be good with Joe Burrow back and with as good as Mixon looked. Think about Mixon getting older again, him possibly moving on. I think Braylon Allen at the 201 going to this landing spot for me is just it makes too much sense. I'm going to take it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, imagine that first two picks there for Cincinnati if you're a Bengals fan. Brock Bowers, Braylon Allen.
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable, right?
I mean, you might have to call the ambulance there because that erection's going to last longer than 4 hours.
Yeah, Scott Connor's going to be like, the 40-year-old version calling.
Yeah, he's going to be ready there for sure.
Yep.
All right, my next pick here. I do like the Braylon Allen pick. I think in a super flex, though, I think I would go with Bo Nix. I think he would end up being the starter there. Maybe he would beat out Ritter. Ritter's terrible, so I'm gonna go with Bo Nix there. Second round pick to Atlanta there, pick 43. I think he ends up being the starter there, so I'll go Bo Nix.
Yeah, I mean it was those two guys for me. Those were the whichever way you wanted to take it. So definitely makes sense here. I think now the guys left on the board, you can start having your conversation for which ones you want.
Right.
Man, maybe this is wrong. I don't even care at this point if it is. I'm again going to have the same type of argument. I look at what Devin Singletary did. I know that Dameon Pierce wasn't it. I know that Devin Singletary is more of a jag. I hate to say that, but he's not the greatest of a running back, right? We've seen enough of him. They take a guy like Jonathan Brooks. I think in this offense with C.J. Stroud that's young, exciting, with opportunities to score, another running back that could absolutely matter. I'm going to take him.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take tight end Jatavian Sanders in this draft, going to Washington that early. He's going to be paired up with Jaden Daniels. Give him another, really good weapon to go with McLaurin and Dotson. So Sanders could definitely be like that missing piece, and he could have a really big season there with a rookie quarterback. So I'm going to go Jatavian Sanders and a tight end premium 1.5 there.
Yeah, definitely one of the guys I was looking at in the next few picks. For me here at 17, I'm taking Xavier Legette. I like Xavier Legette. I think he's a good prospect. I think New England, we saw from Kendrick Bourne was, there was opportunity within a bad offense, but Kendrick Bourne got hurt pretty late in the year with an ACL.
And he's a free agent.
Might not be back. You've got, Pop Douglas, but they need more than just Pop Douglas in that offense. I think Xavier Legette could be very good with a guy like Drake May going there too. So I'll
Yeah,
take it.
absolutely. All right, so my next pick here. I mean, I don't love Adonai Mitchell to the Giants.
Nope.
Like he's kind of like Jalen Hyatt, like
Yeah.
over again.
Mm-hmm.
McConkey, I like. He could be like their new Cole Beasley.
Yeah. That's
Not
like
exactly, not like exactly like Cole Beasley, but play that little slot game.
Right.
Play some outside too.
I was
I
just
think I'm
I'm
gonna
just looking
go.
at a tweet right here from Cody Carpentier, saying how McConkey's going to fit in any scheme and all this stuff. I could
Right,
definitely
yeah,
see it.
yeah. Cooks, I believe, is a free agent. They still have Gallup under contract. Gallup didn't really do anything until the playoff game where he actually did something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm gonna go Devontae Walker here to the Lions.
Okay.
I
Okay.
like Devontae. He came in there for North Carolina after his NCAA stuff that he was dealing with. Is he eligible? Is he not? But he came in and played really, really well with Drake May there. Put him in there with the Lions. I mean, I know they have Jamison Williams, but Jamison Williams hasn't really hit like they thought he would. So I think they want to get a little more explosive there on offense. Adding Walker to Laporta and Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Montgomery. It's a little bit of a luxury pick, but it's the right luxury pick. So I'm going to go Devontae Walker here.
Yeah, I like it. I get it. McConkey definitely someone that I would be considering here. Now, so with Cooks, for example, it's interesting. Cooks played a lot better in the second half of the year. He is under contract with a potential out, but it would be a $6 million like cap hit if they were to get rid of him. I kind of think they might retain him. I think McConkey might be somebody that you draft and has the upside to have that slot role, but maybe takes a little bit of time to come out and develop. I think here at this point, I'll take my shot on Adonai Mitchell. I'm with you. I'm not really loving it, but top 4 draft capital. We're looking towards the back half of the second round now. I'll take my shot.
A team that really needs a wide receiver too, so I get it for sure. I think here I'm gonna talk myself into JJ McCarthy going to Denver.
Interesting. Talk to us, man.
I'm not like a giant JJ McCarthy fan. I think he might go a little bit higher than this in the draft. I don't think he's a first round pick, but I think early second is probably where he goes. So he falls to the early third in this one. Not saying that can't happen either. Like it very well could because McCarthy he doesn't have a lot of tape.
Right.
But if you get a guy with Sean Payton, they're probably going to cut Russell Wilson or trade Russell Wilson, whatever they're going to do. So they're going to need somebody there. They're not really in position to draft one of these top quarterbacks in the draft. I could see McCarthy going in there and kind of being a guy that Sean Payton would like. Sean Payton can mold the offense around. He's smart, accurate with the ball, can do what Sean Payton wants him to do. So I'm going to go with McCarthy here in a super flex league.
I like it. I'm looking here right now at Aaron Jones, and the Aaron Jones contract basically doesn't really have an out for him. It does say this is essentially the last year on his deal.
Yeah, and A.J. Dillon's a free agent too.
A.J. Dillon's a free agent. So that's where I'm saying I think Aaron Jones and Blake Corum for this year, it may be a little more of a 1-2 punch. But I think Blake Corum, if you believe in Jordan Love and you believe in this offense, taking a step forward, I think Blake Corum this late into the second makes a lot of sense. And I'm looking at him and what his difference-making potential could be versus a guy like Ladd McConkey. I like Ladd McConkey, but I think like there's, maybe more like a Hunter Renfrow type ceiling to a Ladd McConkey where like Blake Corum, all things hit right. I want to take my shot there because I think in that offense in Green Bay, he could end up being a hammer.
And you are a dick because that's who I wanted was Blake Corum. So
Eric's out here loving his Michigan Wolverines, man.
Yeah. No, Corum, he kind of reminds me of like Kyron Williams a little bit. I don't want to say like play style or anything like that, but Kyron Williams came out. He tested, was dog shit at the NFL Combine. We were dogging that guy big time.
Huge.
And he just fell down like third, fourth round in like every rookie draft. And if you got him there and you held on to him, kudos to you because you held on to an absolute stud who's in my top 7 running backs now in Dynasty.
2208, Eric. 2208 in startups this year. ADP sleeper. How crazy is that, man?
Right.
22nd fucking round of a startup, dude.
And I think Corum is going to be a guy who doesn't test very well. He's not going to be some 4.4, 4.3 speed guy or anything like that. But I think Blake Corum is just a good running back. He is a fucking hammer on the goal line for sure. Obviously with all of his touchdowns. Really good north-south runner. I think Corum is going to be a very useful piece for somebody as a good running back. I don't want to say he's going to be Kyron Williams, but I wouldn't be shocked if he comes out, he performs, okay at the combine and all that, and everyone's kind of dogging him. I will happily scoop up all the Blake Corum I can in the 3rd and 4th rounds if he falls that far, because I think he's going to be a really good pro.
Yeah, and I mean, you just look at kind of this season, right? You had Aaron Jones banged up, missed some time. He's getting he's only a year older. Assuming they move on from AJ Dillon, they make a pick like this with Blake Corum. Yeah. I see a scenario where it's a 1A, 1B thing. Maybe Blake Corum takes a little bit of time to get his feet under him as far as workload, but the opportunity, it could be immense with Aaron Jones potentially missing some time and working, getting some injuries, and then moving into next year, I think Blake Corum could be an absolute stud. So that's kind of the way I want to value the running back position. Is I want to know that you have an opportunity this year. If you don't, I'm probably not going to care, right? So I think there is an opportunity this year, and I think moving forward, there's a potential for him to really mean a lot. So I see you take Ladd McConkey now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Ladd McConkey here, the last of the 2nd round picks to go. Obviously, it's Dallas Cowboys. It's not a shit offense. It's a very good offense, paired up with Dak Prescott, who had a tremendous season. So I'm going to go ahead, and the fall for McConkey is going to stop here. I'm going to take him with the Dallas Cowboys at the 210. 211, who you got?
Yeah, interesting. And I'm kind of assuming at this point we're doing this as a lineup league. With that being said, if I have that mentality, I'm not going to say they're all roster cloggers, right? But I don't really feel like at this point I have a good enough feel on who could be the wide receiver value in this range. I'm looking at the tight ends, and I do like Jaheim Bell, but going this late to Houston feels like a reach here. I'm gonna go ahead and take Trey Benson going to the Cardinals. Basically that running back situation you saw, like DeMarcado has mattered. You've seen guys have weeks, and listen, James Conner's been great, but we've seen him be hurt for a while at times in the past, maybe not more recently. This is also a guy that's getting really old.
Right. No, I like the pick for sure. Should be set up to have, a decent, he's going to be behind James Conner, but he's going to spell Conner here and there. And eventually hopefully take that spot over. So I like that pick with Trey Benson.
Yeah. Similar, I think, with a lot of the same stuff I was talking about with Blake Corum. I prefer Blake Corum, the prospect, I think, to Trey Benson, but both of them, they have one guy in front of them that's got a lot of miles on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like you too. I don't know enough about the rest of the prospects yet. Like I know about some of them, but some of them I don't know about yet either. So I'll just kind of walk through some of them that I'm thinking about. I really think I'm leaning towards one, so I'll mention him last. Jalen McMillan from Washington going to Houston could be interesting. It's a pair up there with C.J. Stroud. That's a very interesting one to me. I don't know enough about Jalen Wright, the running back to Tennessee, but a running back going to Baltimore, you definitely have me interested. Dobbins is a free agent.
Definitely.
I don't remember if Gus is. I think Gus signed a multi-year deal, but even though he could still beat out Gus. Bucky Irving, I know, is a solid prospect going to the Chargers. They're going to need a running back. Spencer Rattler to the Raiders. That's an interesting one. Don't really love it, but just would be interesting.
Sure.
Will Shipley to San Francisco to basically mirror Christian McCaffrey.
I was kind of looking at that one like Day 3 running back, I'm not going to draft it ahead of like Trey Benson or Blake Corum, but I'm like, man, interesting, just interesting
Yeah,
because also that offense in general. We think before McCaffrey, if you end up penciling the guy, it's an offense that you want to have a running back in, right?
yeah. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason have had their share of being productive at times too. So I get it.
Yeah, definitely.
The one I think I'm going to lean towards though at pick 85, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jalen Polk, the wide receiver from Washington.
Would have been my pick too.
And that's just because the Steelers know how to fucking draft wide receivers, man.
Yeah, I'm
it
with
seems
you.
like whoever they pick turns out to be good. You get George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and Jalen Polk as your starting 3 receivers. Obviously, Freiermuth. They got the running backs with Najee and Warren. All they need is that damn quarterback now. I would say if Caleb Williams goes to the Bears at 1, like Pittsburgh is a legit spot for Justin Fields to go to.
Yeah.
I think that could happen. I think Atlanta is another spot where Justin Fields could go possibly. I don't think they would trade him to Minnesota just because it's in division. Vegas, that's another one that I've heard too for Justin Fields. So I could see one of those 3 spots, Vegas, Atlanta, or Pittsburgh, going there for Justin Fields if Justin Fields becomes available.
Yeah.
So if that were to happen, if they got Justin Fields here and Polk was in there, I think that's good. I think Kenny Pickett is definitely taking a step back, but if they have to start Pickett again, they get a new offensive coordinator in there who knows what the hell they're doing. And you give them these 3 offensive receivers plus Freiermuth, the 2 running backs, like they should be able to do something there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select Jalen Polk there from Washington.
Yeah, I don't love the prospect. I'm like lukewarm on him. I like him enough, but if Pittsburgh takes him in round 2 or round 3, typically that tells you good things about what they see in that prospect, and that's been a friendly spot for a lot of receivers coming out.
Any of the other guys who didn't get picked here that you really like?
To be honest with you, if you told me my pick was next, I'm taking Jalen Wright going to Baltimore.
Yeah, that was my 2 picks as well.
Yeah, I think that at this spot, like, yeah, Jalen McMillan might be in the mix. Just because, like, if you tell me in this range, I'm drafting a guy in round 3, I want to know a little bit about the prospect. I want to have some of that, but I just look and see like Noah Brown's performances with C.J. Stroud. You give me a guy that's attached to C.J. Stroud that I also happen to know a little bit about the profile. I think that would be my following pick. So Jalen Wright would have been my 301 and 302. I think would be Jalen McMillan for me right now.
And the 2 quarterbacks that we didn't take, Michael Pratt from Tulane going to the Giants and Spencer Rattler from South Carolina going to Vegas. What do you think about those 2 spots for those guys?
So the spots are not bad because I think that especially like Vegas, I know you're an Aiden O'Connell guy, but I just don't know that he's the
I don't know either. I mean,
guy, right?
I still think he's got a lot to improve on, but he has a lot of good qualities too. But
For sure.
like, it's not going to shock me if they're bringing in competition or somebody to take his job. Like,
right.
I'm realistic on it. I'm not fucking blinded.
No, but the only reason I'm saying that is that with like Spencer Rattler, I'd be interested to see really if he does go this high. But the landing spot of the Raiders is solid because there's not really there's no incumbent that makes you like terrified, right? You look at Michael Pratt going to New York. I think that they're still going to be tied to Daniel Jones. I think there was an injury situation combined with just a horrible year for them.
And the money situation.
Right. Well, you're going to have a hard time getting out of that contract. No one's taking that money on. So I'd like it better for the Raiders. But I would say overall for me, unless somebody out there that is really good at prospect evaluation and has some hit rates with quarterbacks, tells me it makes sense in day 3, I'm kind of just not going to I'm not going to mess with day 3 quarterbacks anywhere near like the 3rd round. Maybe starting in the 4th round or closer to free. But I'm not going to do it in round 3, I don't think.
Okay. Perfect.
Personally for me.
All right. Well, that is it for our 2 mock drafts here. Shout out to Dane Brugler, Shane Hallam for allowing us to do this. I'm going to probably do these maybe once a month. We'll look through some mock drafts here, do the landing spots, just kind of get us in the groove for selecting these players and where they're selected, like whatever their landing spots are at. So
I love that. I was going to ask you real quick, just looking at this last one, Like when you see that and you see the landing spots, like any values or specific spots that you're surprised, like, man, this is a pretty valuable pick or player in this part of the draft, second round, late first, whatever.
I mean, I think Penix, where he went to the Vikings there, I think that's an interesting one. You pair him up with Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, all those guys.
Yeah.
And if you're the champion of the league and you're picking 112 and Michael Penix Jr. is sitting there for you and you get him paired up with Justin Jefferson and those guys,
Yeah.
I think that's a tremendous value in our super flex drafts. Like, I could easily see if I need a quarterback at 9, 10, 11, taking Penix Jr. over Franklin, Worthy, or Coleman too. Even though those guys ended up in good spots, I think getting that super flex quarterback, especially if they don't sign anybody and it's just, Josh Dobbs and Mullins and Penix Jr. there again or something like that. I could see Penix winning that job.
Yeah, Penix definitely is. It's right there on the cusp where it's 42, so it's a pretty high second round pick. Like, I don't typically love taking second round picks, but it's high enough in that second round where it's like, damn, this is really intriguing. You have a situation where there are weapons, and you could see like fantasy, really, really good fantasy production coming from that situation.
Yeah, it's I think Jalen Hurts was pick 50 or somewhere around there.
Yep.
So it's kind of like the same thing with when the Eagles took Jalen Hurts, man. Like, if Penix hits, he's gonna hit, and especially with Jefferson and Addison, I keep bringing those guys up, man. You throw to those guys,
for sure.
I want the quarterback throwing to those guys for sure. And
no doubt,
Penix has the accuracy, like he is just fucking pinpoint throwing darts. Especially with those guys, man. That's nice. I like that.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
How about you? Anyone stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in the conversation there. I think personally, for me, it's like the combination of which one would be more meaningful or which one has the higher upside between, obviously, Penix, if he really hits, he's going to be much longer staying power, you would think. But between that and Brugler and Hallam going to Cincinnati, like you saw how good Joe Mixon was at times. If you get a young guy that has that home run hitting ability plus touchdown upside, I think that part of the first, like late first, early second round with those two landing spots would be crazy with Penix and Brugler and Hallam there.
I think if that were to happen and Brugler Hallam went to the Bengals in round 2, that means Joe Mixon got cut and they don't have Joe Mixon anymore. So it would be Chase. It would be Chase. It would be Chase Brown and Brugler Hallam splitting the work.
And you think about what like Joe. And the reason I bring up Joe Mixon last year was, remember Mixon, they weren't sure what they were going to do. He took a pay cut. They end up keeping him. I think they'd obviously be signaling moving on from him. His age and off the field stuff going into this year, big time.
Right.
I like it, man. I like it. I like it a lot.
I really like both of those landing spots for sure for those guys. Jatavian Sanders to Washington, like I said, that's a really intriguing one for me too. Pairing him up with a rookie quarterback and a rookie tight end, and the way that tight ends have been playing nowadays, I think that's an interesting one. Especially, it sounds like Ben Johnson is the guy that Washington wants.
Yes.
So you see what Jatavian Sanders just did with Laporta.
Yeah.
He could do the same with Jatavian Sanders. So
Jatavian Sanders is a guy that I've been pretty high on for a while. I had him in C2C leagues and all that, and I'm excited for him. If he gets like round 2 draft capital and almost regardless of situation, but in a situation where there is a decent quarterback or a young, young rookie, it's exciting, man. It'd be really exciting to see what he can do. He's very electric.
Yeah. So, and then another thing that's doing this exercise too, I would be pretty happy with all 24 of these guys. Like towards the end here, like 22, 23, 24, it got a little, I don't want to say difficult, but
not as much of a layup. Yeah.
Yeah, not as much of a layup. But that means, hey man, our first 12 picks in our rookie draft, our first 24 picks in our rookie drafts, there's some damn good players in this draft, offensively. Yeah. So
big time.
So I'm excited for this draft. And like I said, there's still some guys that we didn't even mention that are going to fall to round 3 in this draft. There's some really good players in this draft. So definitely, if you got picks, keep getting those picks. Don't be afraid to move up into certain tiers. You can kind of start, getting a little bit of a tier. Like I think the top 6 7 is pretty locked in for me. I would say Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Neighbors, Odunze, Brock Bowers. I think is a pretty easy top 7. I think that's going to go in any order. That's going to probably be your top 7, mostly in every league outside of, maybe McCarthy goes to top 10 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, this draft that we saw here that Shane do, if this played out to be the way that the NFL draft went, we're going to be ecstatic having all these 24 picks.
Yeah, the first round is all really good.
Yeah, the first round's gravy, man. The second round, like the early part of the second round especially, you feel like you're getting first round value for sure.
Yeah, I would say the top 16 on this I would be very comfortable with.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, and even like you said, the back half of the second round, not as easy, but still, like, man, you don't feel pretty bad. You don't feel terrible about a lot of the landing spots and the players there. So
right, for sure. All right, we ready to do America's favorite game, and we'll get on out of here?
Always ready to do America's favorite game. What do we got?
All right, so I started watching one of my shows that started last night. I think I did this one before with Scott, so I'm going to do this one with you. What is, like, your favorite show that was on HBO? If you've ever watched shows on HBO. So you got your Sopranos, you got your Game of Thrones, True Detective, which is what I just started watching last night. That was really, really good for a first episode.
Yeah.
You got The Wire, everybody likes. You got Entourage, which I fucking love too. There's a lot of possibilities for HBO shows. So what's been your favorite HBO show?
Yeah, I mean, this one for me comes down pretty like I can make a long list of shows I like on HBO. To me, it comes down to Game of Thrones and Sopranos, very different, but both like ones I was extremely into.
But same,
same, yeah, but very into, but different type shows. And man, I think I'm gonna go with Sopranos. Longer staying power. That show's so freaking unbelievable, man. The Sopranos was awesome. I love the Game of Thrones. If you told me the Game of Thrones final season wasn't as poorly done as it probably was, I'd maybe give the edge of Game of Thrones because I was very into that at the time. But I think I'm gonna go with Sopranos 1, and then give Game of Thrones the second one. I haven't seen some of the other ones. Like I have not seen Succession. I've heard great things about Succession.
I haven't watched Succession, but a lot of people rave about that one. The other one that came out last year, The Last of Us, when they started doing that was pretty good. Yeah, so there's definitely some more. I could do like probably a top 5. I think I'm with you on Sopranos. Number 2, Game of Thrones, but they're like 1A, 1B. Like I could ask me either time of the day, it could be different.
Yeah.
I really loved Entourage. Entourage was fucking amazing. If you've never seen Entourage
was great.
Fucking Ari Gold is
amazing.
We need him back in our life.
Yeah.
I really liked The Last of Us. I thought that was really good, so I'd probably put that at 4. And then 5. Oh shit, I forgot about fucking Larry David too. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yep, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah.
Final seasons coming out of that too. That's another show that
yeah.
God. One from back in the day that I'm gonna give some love to. It is on HBO Max. I want to go back and watch it, but Arliss. You ever watch Arliss back in the day?
I didn't know.
Arliss. He was like a sports agent.
Okay.
So they always had all these famous sports athletes on the show, but this is like 95, 96 when this thing came out. So it was like ahead of its time kind of thing.
Okay.
That's a good one. Ballers was on there too with the Rock.
Ballers. I was gonna say you got to at least mention Ballers,
yep,
right?
I remember Ballers was on there.
I have not seen or I don't know if you've seen Eric The Wire. I haven't seen The Wire. Were you into The Wire?
I watched a little bit of The Wire. It was around that time I was watching. I don't think I ever watched like the full thing, but the episodes I did watch were really good. That's another one I'd like to go back and watch.
Okay.
I used to watch Oz.
I didn't ever watch Oz. I heard it was
super.
That's way back in the day, right? Like early 2000s, right?
That might be in the late 90s.
Late 90s? Okay.
Yeah. Oz was super fucked up. Like rape and cutting people's dicks off and
goodness.
All that kind of stuff. It was just crazy most perverted shit you can think of. And here I am as like a middle schooler watching this shit like on the TV. But yeah, that was another great show. For fifth though, oh man, where am I gonna go for the fifth one? Man, that one's tough.
Riveting.
Yeah, it really is. I'll probably go with. I really like True Detective. Like, have you watched those at all?
I did. Yeah, True Detective
Okay.
was good. Yep.
The first season with McConaughey and Woody Harrelson was fucking phenomenal.
Yes, it was, man.
One of the best seasons of television I've ever watched in my life. Absolutely.
Really, really
The
good.
second one with Vince Vaughn and a couple others, absolute dog shit.
Yeah, it fell off
was
pretty
terrible.
hard. Yeah, it fell
The
off.
third season was pretty decent. Like, it wasn't the first one, but it was decent. I forget the actor's name that was in it. One of the detectives, the black guy. I forget his name. But he's been in a bunch of good stuff too. This fourth season that just started on Sunday.
I haven't started it.
Okay, the first episode just dropped on Sunday, and I watched it last night. It looks like almost not as good as the first season.
Like closer to the first season than anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of intrigue and mystery and stuff. So if you have not started True Detective season 4 yet, I definitely recommend that. It's looking like it's going to be pretty damn good.
Okay. One I didn't hear you mention. Were you in like Eastbound and Down? Were you Eastbound and Down?
Oh yeah. That's another one. There's so many of them, you just forget about them.
All right. I just wanted to make sure. Like, make
Kenny
sure
Powers is great, man.
Yeah, Kenny Powers.
He's got one of my favorite lines in I think it's one of the first 2 episodes. He gets hired as the gym teacher, and he goes on the PA system, and he announces it to the whole PA system. He's swearing on the PA system and everything. And he walks out, and he gives a high five to the janitor as he's walking out. And the janitor goes, "Where the fuck is he going? It's only first period." Love that one.
Yeah, man. Yeah, HBO's had some gems, man.
Yeah, like
definitely.
I'm sure you're Googling them, right?
I just started. I had forgotten about Eastbound and Down, to tell you the truth. I was trying to go off memory, and I'm like, we're gonna get out of here. Let me make sure I didn't miss one. I would have been remiss if I didn't talk about Eastbound and Down now.
Yeah, Boardwalk Empire. I didn't get into that one.
I never saw that either.
It wasn't really my thing. Band of Brothers was awesome.
Band of Brothers was good. One I never got into yet or haven't seen that I'm seeing pretty high on this one list I'm looking at here is Deadwood.
Yeah, Deadwood. I was just going to mention that one. That's another one people liked. I didn't get into that one. A lot of people like Barry, I've heard about too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chernobyl, when they did the little 6-part series on that, was pretty solid. Westworld, a lot of people like too.
Yeah, Westworld for sure.
Yeah, there's just so many. Like,
I also never got into True Blood.
Yeah, that's not I'm not into like vampire stuff. Not my thing. Righteous Gemstones, a lot of people like. That's the newer one.
Right. What was it called?
Righteous Gemstones with Danny McBride and.
Oh really? Oh
yeah, a couple other guys.
See, I'm out here. I didn't even know about that one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking through some.
But yeah, as I'm like looking and thinking and making sure I'm crossing, all my T's, dotting all my I's. I'm definitely feel comfortable with Sopranos at 1. Don't think
same here.
Like there's a great long list from HBO, but I'm definitely putting Sopranos at 1. I feel very good about Game of Thrones at 2 as well. Man, 3, 4, and 5, like you just did, I could probably put eight total in that top 5 list.
I'll mention this one too. I haven't watched it, but your boy Mike loves it. It's The Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Yeah, I need to see that still, man. I've heard it's great, and it's one you got to see.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. I haven't seen all of it, so I want to go back and watch all of it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still looking through some of the ones here, man, that are coming up on this list here. Ballers, we did mention.
Ballers would make my top 5.
Did you watch Vice Principals with Danny McBride and what was the other guy's name? Walton Goggins?
Yes.
That was funny. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Yeah, there's honestly just so many, man.
Yeah, I would definitely put Ballers in my top 5. I was a fan of Ballers though.
Yeah,
so.
Ballers was great, man.
Yeah.
That also
I'd also
delivered
put
one of the
Entourage in my top 5, so I'm already right there
Yeah.
at 4 of the 5. So
Right.
yeah, it's tough to start like singling them out.
Yeah, and Ballers had another one of the greatest one-liners of all time. If it flies, dries, floats, or fucks, you lease it.
Yeah, yeah,
Love
man,
that line.
love it, man. Good ones, HBO, man. HBO shout us out. Come be a part of America's Game. HBO, we just went through the whole list of everything.
Yeah, shit. Put us on HBO Max and stream us every Wednesday. I'd be good with that.
Imagine if America's Game, new addition to HBO.
Be rolling in the dough. Rolling. All right. Well, that is it for this week, guys. At Eric Vanek NFL. Follow me there. At America's Game Pod on Twitter as well. At South Harmon FF on YouTube and Twitter. Come join the Patreon as well. So every Monday, we're doing mock drafts right now. We're all getting into a live YouTube, and we're doing mock drafts for the first round. Everybody's participating. Everybody gets a team, and you go ahead and pick the player for that team, and we go through and just do mock drafts every single Monday. We'll talk about the players. You can come join us. I think it's only certain tiers. Do you remember what tiers it is, Mike?
Yeah. It's no, you're good. It's the $5 tier. So we have the supporter tier and then the first shithead tier for $5. You get into the first $5 tier.
Okay.
You'll have access to that. That draft, I think, is as it continues to go, is going to be freaking awesome, man. So you basically get to pick like your team or your teams that you're being the GM for, and we go through the whole first round on the clock. You get to decide, whatever team you want, whatever team you want to be, who you taking on the board. Doing our own like first round of the NFL draft is pretty cool. Watching the first one. Once I get some things settled in with content and how much I'm doing on my next venture, I'm definitely looking forward to being a part of those episodes, man. But right now, try not to overdo it too much.
Right, yeah. So if you guys want to sign up for one of those tiers, you can come and join us, or just come watch us in the YouTube. And just come join us. It's a lot of fun. You can comment. We're always interactive on that kind of stuff. So yeah, come join us. It was a lot of fun on Monday. We're going to do it every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep. And speaking of, Eric and I were talking about our ranks. So for that $5 tier, you can be a part of that draft. Access to a lot of different channels in the Discord. You get access to Mike, myself, and Eric's ranks. My rankings are going to be, I'm going to be updating basically every week at this point. I'm having to go Eric Vanek on it. I'm deepening out my rankings, ranking 300 plus players without even touching on the 24 rookies yet. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun offseason.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up real quick before we end it here. I'm gonna go to my rankings.
All right.
This is how deep I went, so you guys can see how much of a degenerate I am. So on quarterbacks, I went to 80 quarterbacks are ranked.
Yep.
Running backs 110, wide receivers 115, and tight ends I went to 51 tight ends because I added Davis Allen yesterday.
Yeah, you're out here deep, man. So the only place I got you is at tight end. I got 52 tight ends on here, but then everywhere else you got me. I only went 74 quarterbacks. I need to figure out who the hell I'm missing on some of these, but yeah, I got 74 QBs, 112 running backs, 112 receivers. Eric's still beating me in all the rankings. He finds a way to go.
Well, they're
deep.
all in there now because myself and Koopa added.
Yeah, you had Koopa add all the players in. So I'm like, well,
he showed me how to do it, so I started doing it. So I got all these names in here now. I updated the team logos for anybody who moved during the season, like Leonard Fournette still had like Tampa Bay or something like that. So I updated all the logos for all those. So it's nice and clean now. Yeah.
We got the consensus too, so you can take
consensus. For
consensus
Mike
between
and Adam.
Mike, myself, and Eric. So come check it out, man. Patreon.com/South Harmon. Eric, as always, man, I appreciate you having me on. This was a blast. America's Game doing HBO on the way out. You gotta love it.
Hell yeah, man. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys follow us and check us out everywhere, like I mentioned. And we'll see you next week for episode 26. See ya.